When a woman goes silent for months, most men think the story is over. They assume her silence means she moved on, healed, upgraded, forgot. But brother, silence doesn't mean peace. It means something is happening behind the curtain. Something she doesn't want you to see. Something she hopes time will hide, but her mind keeps replaying in the dark. Because no woman disappears without a reason, and no woman stays gone without a battle inside her. She'll show the world a calm face. She'll post like she's glowing. She'll laugh louder. Stay bousier. Pretend she's weightless. But behind that performance, pride is wrestling with memory. And memory always hits hardest when the lights go out. You think she doesn't think about you, but she scrolls past your name slower than she wants to. You think she doesn't feel anything, but her chest tightens when she sees even a shadow of your life moving without her. You think her silence is strength, but it's actually the test she hopes you'll fail. Most men crumble here. They break the quiet first. They text. They explain. They chase closure that isn't coming. But the man who understands stillness, the man who chooses discipline over desperation, he becomes the mirror she cannot escape. Because silence, carried with strength, does one thing every time. It exposes the truth she tried to bury. Stay with me. What comes next will change how you read her distance, her pride, and her months of silence forever. When a woman disappears for months, the first thing most men assume is that she found peace without them. They imagine her healed, happy, moved on, living a life untouched by the past. But that assumption is a fantasy created by your own emotional wounds, not by her reality. Because a woman's silence is almost never peace. It's rarely closure, and it's certainly not indifference. More often, it's a strategy, a shield, a performance crafted by pride. To understand her silence, you must understand the psychology beneath it, the tension between her ego and her unresolved emotions. When a woman pulls away, especially abruptly, it's rarely because she feels nothing. It's because she feels too much, but doesn't want to confront what those emotions mean. Silence becomes her form of emotional control, a way to regulate discomfort without having to face it. She believes that distance will protect her pride, that ignoring you will protect her vulnerability, that disappearing will give her the upper hand. But none of that is peace. It's avoidance wrapped in confidence. Women are masters at creating emotional illusions when their hearts are conflicted. They'll tell themselves they're done, while checking your profile at midnight. They'll convince their friends they're free, while silently comparing every new man to you. They'll post happily, laugh loudly, engage constantly, but only to drown out the internal noise that refuses to quiet down. Silence, to her, isn't stillness. It's an attempt to suffocate the parts of herself she doesn't want to feel. And here's what most men never learn. A woman's silence is almost always pride battling memory. In the early days of the separation, her ego is loud. It tells her she's in control now, that she doesn't need closure, that she doesn't care what you're doing. For a moment, she even believes it. Pride is her anchor, her armor, her justification. But ego is powerful only when there is noise movement, attention, distraction, And that's why your silence threatens her far more than your words ever could. She expects you to break first. She believes you'll reach for her. She assumes you'll try to fix what she ran from. Why? Because that's how the dynamic used to be. You were the emotionally open one, the one who explained, reassured, chased, tried. She built her sense of control on the predictability of your response. Your vulnerability made her feel powerful. But when you give her nothing, no message, no reaction, no emotional cues to decode, something inside her begins to tremble. Pride becomes harder to hold. Control becomes harder to fake. The quiet she crafted for strength becomes the silence that confronts her truth. Women often confuse emotional suppression with emotional mastery. They think ignoring a wound means it's healed. They confuse busyness with progress. But real healing is never found in running, it's found in reflection. That's why her silence doesn't give her peace. It exposes her weakness. She's not ignoring you because she's over you. She's ignoring you because she doesn't know how to face what she feels about you. Here's the deepest insight. Her silence is not a sign of emotional clarity, it's a method of emotional control. She needs distance to feel powerful. She needs silence to protect her ego. She disappears to avoid the discomfort of vulnerability. And the more she avoids, the heavier her emotions become. Silence. For here isn't the absence of feeling, it's the pressure cooker of every feeling she refuses to face. That's why months can pass, and suddenly she resurfaces, confused, emotional, and searching for answers she already knows. Because time doesn't heal someone who never confronted themselves. Time exposes them. And your role is not to decode her silence. Your role is not to chase the closure she refuses to give. Your role is not to fight her illusion of control. Your role is simple: remain grounded while her ego exhausts itself. A woman's silence isn't about you. It's her battle with herself. Her conflict between pride and truth, between control and memory, between who she pretends to be and what she actually feels. And when you understand that, brother, you stop taking her silence personally. You stop making it a story about your inadequacy. You stop chasing noise. You start mastering stillness. Because the moment you stop fearing her silence is the moment she starts fearing your peace. A woman can vanish for months and make it look effortless. That's the part most men misunderstand. They see the curated smiles, the louder laughter, the new outfits, the glowing selfies, the brunch photos, the energetic nights out, and assume she's thriving. They assume she's healed. They assume she packed up every feeling she ever had and traded it for freedom. But what you're seeing is not liberation. It's presentation. She's not moving on. She's performing the idea of a woman who has moved on. There's a big difference. From the outside, her life looks brighter. The angles are perfect. The colors are warmer. The captions are deeper. The friends look closer. Every picture is a carefully arranged piece of evidence that she's better without you. She isn't running from the past. She's trying to outrun the silence between you. The psychology behind this is older than Instagram. When someone feels unsettled inside, they compensate by over-projecting stability outside. And younger women, especially raised in a world where attention feels like currency, know how to use that performance as a shield. Not because she wants to deceive you, but because she wants to deceive herself. If everyone sees her smiling, if everyone says she looks happier, maybe she'll finally believe it too. But here is the uncomfortable truth. People don't brag about what they've outgrown. They only broadcast what they're still trying to prove. Her moving on is not movement. It's avoidance in motion. She fills her days to avoid the nights. She fills her feed to avoid the silence. She fills her schedule to avoid the memories that resurface when her phone finally stops buzzing. Because no matter how much noise she surrounds herself with, the quiet always returns. And quiet is where the truth hides. At 2:13 a.m., when she checks her phone and sees nothing, not even your name, her facade cracks. The curated confidence melts. Not publicly, not where anyone can see, but in the privacy of her own mind. She feels a tightening in her chest, something she can't label as regret, pride, confusion, or fear. But it's there. It's real. And it grows larger. Every night she realizes you're not watching her life unfold. Her biggest fear isn't losing you. It's losing the version of herself she thought she became by leaving. During the day, she plays the confident role convincingly. At night, she replays moments. She swore, she forgot. She scrolls through your old conversations without opening them. She checks your profile from a burner account. She wonders why your energy feels different, even from afar. That small, private discomfort. That's the truth behind the illusion. Because moving on isn't about deleting photos or blocking numbers. It's about confronting emotions without weaponizing them. And she's not doing that, not yet. Her freedom feels hollow because it's built on denial, not acceptance. But here's where men lose themselves. They see her performance and assume she's happy. They assume she's detached. They assume she's relieved. And out of panic, they break the silence. They send a message to confirm she still cares. They try to remind her of what they had. They try to rescue her from the emptiness she created. But that's the trap. You're not supposed to save her from her facade. She must see through it herself. She must feel the difference between being busy and being healed, between distraction and peace, between running away and actually moving forward. You cannot teach her that lesson. Silence will. Your job is not to interrupt her illusion. Your job is to outgrow it. Because the Stoic truth is always the same. A man doesn't chase the woman performing confidence. He becomes the man who no longer needs her validation. While she pretends she's moved on, you genuinely evolve. You build discipline. You build clarity. You build a life where your peace isn't dependent on anyone returning to you. And when that illusion she created finally collapses under the weight of her own truth, she will see something she didn't expect. You didn't wait for her to heal. You healed without her. And brother, that realization hits harder than any silence you could ever send. Time is a strange teacher. Brother, people think it heals, softens, erases. But for a woman who walked away out of pride, impulse, or emotional confusion, time doesn't heal a thing. It reveals. It strips away every excuse she once believed. every story she told herself, every illusion she used to cover the truth. And when she disappears for months, thinking distance will set her free, time becomes the mirror she never expected. In the beginning, she treats silence like a weapon. She convinces herself that disappearing will numb whatever she once felt. She tells her friends she's fine. She posts like she's glowing. She fills her days with noise, new routines, new friends, new distractions, believing movement equals growth. But time doesn't reward running. It exposes it. The first few weeks, she feels powerful. Her pride is loud. She thinks she's winning the breakup by staying silent. She thinks deleting pictures or avoiding reminders makes her stronger. But emotional avoidance isn't strength. It's a temporary escape. And escapes always end. Because eventually, when the adrenaline fades, when the distractions quiet down, when the newness loses its shine, time begins doing what it always does, replaying everything she tried to bury. It happens slowly. A random song, a scent in a grocery store, a place you used to go, something small, something ordinary. But it pierces through her defenses like nothing else. She won't admit it, but her heart stutters in those moments. The memories she forced down begin rising, not because she wants them to, but because time refuses to let her rewrite the truth. And here's the deeper psychology. Silence doesn't delete emotions. It ferments them. What she avoided grows heavier. What she ignored becomes louder. What she suppressed becomes sharper. And the longer she stays silent, the harder it becomes to lie to herself. At 2, 1, 3, when her room is quiet and the world stops performing, that's when she feels it. The emptiness, the confusion, the sting of unresolved emotions. That is when her silence stops feeling like control and starts feeling like consequence. She starts checking your last online time, not out of curiosity, but out of fear. She scrolls past your name slower than she means to. She wonders if your calm means detachment, if your silence means you've moved on, if your growth means you won't look back. And that thought hits her deeper than anything you could ever say. Because here's the truth. Time exposes every single time. She didn't lose you when she left. She loses you the moment she realizes you didn't wait. She starts comparing her emotional state to yours. She sees you stable while she's unraveling. She sees you focused while she's replaying memories. She sees you calm while she's wrestling with regret. Time makes the contrast undeniable. Your peace versus her confusion. Your stillness versus her avoidance. Your clarity versus her unfinished story. And for the first time, she begins to feel the weight you carried when you felt unseen, unheard, unchosen. Time flips the roles. She becomes the one replaying old conversations. She becomes the one wondering what went wrong. She becomes the one questioning if she ever meant as much as she thought she did in your life. But the hardest truth time exposes is this. She never stopped caring. She just stopped knowing how to face herself. That's why disappearing for months doesn't heal her. It amplifies every wound, every doubt, every unresolved attachment. Time forces her to meet the emotions she tried to outrun. And those emotions don't whisper, they scream. This is why you don't break silence. This is why you don't chase closure. This is why you don't rescue her from the distance she created. Because time is already doing all the work for you. And one day, when the illusions fade and the distractions die and the nights grow heavy, she will understand. She didn't escape the past. She delayed the truth. And that truth, brother, always resurfaces with your name in it. Time is a strange teacher. Brother, people think it heals, softens, erases. But for a woman who walked away out of pride, impulse, or emotional confusion, time doesn't heal a thing. It reveals. It strips away every excuse she once believed, every story she told herself, every illusion she used to cover the truth. And when she disappears for months, thinking distance will set her free, time becomes the mirror she never expected. In the beginning, she treats silence like a weapon. She convinces herself that disappearing will numb whatever she once felt. She tells her friends she's fine. She posts like she's glowing. She fills her days with noise, new routines, new friends, new distractions, believing movement equals growth. But time doesn't reward running. It exposes it. The first few weeks, she feels powerful. Her pride is loud. She thinks she's winning the breakup by staying silent. She thinks deleting pictures or avoiding reminders makes her stronger. But emotional avoidance isn't strength. It's a temporary escape. And escapes always end. Because eventually, when the adrenaline fades, when the distractions quiet down, when the newness loses its shine, time begins doing what it always does, replaying everything she tried to bury. It happens slowly. A random song, a scent in a grocery store, a place you used to go, something small, something ordinary. But it pierces through her defenses like nothing else. She won't admit it, but her heart stutters in those moments. The memories she forced down begin rising, not because she wants them to, but because time refuses to let her rewrite the truth. And here's the deeper psychology. Silence doesn't delete emotions. It ferments them. What she avoided grows heavier. What she ignored becomes louder. What she suppressed becomes sharper. And the longer she stays silent, the harder it becomes to lie to herself at 2:13 a.m. when her room is quiet and the world stops performing. That's when she feels it. The emptiness, the confusion, the sting of unresolved emotions. That is when her silence stops feeling like control and starts feeling like consequence. She starts checking your last online time, not out of curiosity, but out of fear. She scrolls past your name slower than she means to. She wonders if your calm means detachment, if your silence means you've moved on, if your growth means you won't look back. And that thought hits her deeper than anything you could ever say. Because here's the truth. Time exposes every single time. She didn't lose you when she left. She loses you the moment she realizes you didn't wait. She starts comparing her emotional state to yours. She sees you stable while she's unraveling. She sees you focused while she's replaying memories. She sees you calm while she's wrestling with regret. Time makes the contrast undeniable. Your peace versus her confusion. Your stillness versus her avoidance. your clarity versus her unfinished story. And for the first time, she begins to feel the weight you carried when you felt unseen, unheard, unchosen. Time flips the roles. She becomes the one replaying old conversations. She becomes the one wondering what went wrong. She becomes the one questioning if she ever meant as much as she thought she did in your life. But the hardest truth time exposes is this: she never stopped caring. She just stopped knowing how to face herself. That's why disappearing for months doesn't heal her. It amplifies every wound, every doubt, every unresolved attachment. Time forces her to meet the emotions she tried to outrun. And those emotions don't whisper, they scream. This is why you don't break silence. This is why you don't chase closure. This is why you don't rescue her from the distance she created. Because time is already doing all the work for you. And one day, when the illusions fade and the distractions die and the nights grow heavy, she will understand. She didn't escape the past. She delayed the truth. And that truth, brother, always resurfaces with your name in it. There is a specific moment in this whole process when everything flips. Not slowly, not gently, but suddenly, like the air shifts, like gravity tilts. Like the story she thought she was writing begins slipping out of her hands. That moment is when your silence stops feeling like distance and starts feeling like freedom. Not just your freedom, hers, too, except for her. That freedom doesn't feel liberating. It feels threatening, because at this point of the silence, weeks in, maybe months, your energy is no longer reacting to her absence. You're no longer wondering what she's doing, who she's with, or whether she misses you. You're calm, you're centered, you're grounded, and that shift, brother, is what becomes her storm. In the beginning, she believed she controlled the silence. She thought she owned the distance. She thought pulling away would put her in a place of power up high, observing from a balcony while you waited below. But the truth of human psychology is simple. The one who stops reacting is the one who stops being controlled. Your stillness becomes a mirror of her own uncertainty. Your lack of reaction becomes the crack in her confidence. Your emotional discipline becomes the pressure she didn't expect, because she knew how to handle the old you, the one who chased, who explained, who tried to fix things that weren't his burden. She doesn't know what to do with this version of you. This version who breathes deeply instead of responding impulsively. This version who fills his days with progress, not waiting. This version who realizes that peace is a personal responsibility, not a shared project. And that's when her storm begins. It starts quietly, in ways she won't admit. A moment of wondering why you haven't reached out. A flicker of curiosity about whether you've moved on. A random thought. Has he changed? Is he actually okay without me? Did he stop caring? These thoughts hit her at unexpected times during a boring afternoon at work, in the middle of getting ready for a night out, or while laughing with friends and realizing the laugh feels hollow. Then the storm intensifies. She checks your profile longer than she means to. She rereads your old messages in private. She wonders why your name hasn't appeared in her notifications. She starts imagining another woman taking the attention she used to have. Not because she loves you, but because losing your attention means losing the power she thought she held. And that's the moment she realizes something uncomfortable. Your silence doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like graduation. You're not trying to hurt her. You're simply no longer orbiting around her. And nothing disrupts a woman's pride more than realizing the man she expected to react doesn't. So her storm gets louder. She tries convincing herself she doesn't care. She tells her friends she's over it. She buries herself in distractions, work, social media, new people, new routines. But the emotional math never lies. Your calm amplifies her chaos. Your peace highlights her avoidance. Your silence exposes the truth she's been running from. She didn't expect you to detach this deeply. She didn't expect you to rebuild so quietly. She didn't expect your absence to feel like a door slowly closing. And that's when the panic starts. Not dramatic panic, not visible panic, internal panic, the kind no one sees but she feels everywhere. She starts imagining the version of you she can't reach anymore. She starts missing the emotional access she once had. She starts realizing that silence has consequences, not punishment, but clarity. Your silence becomes her storm because it forces her to face what she avoided, the truth that she lost the version of you who needed her, and now stands in front of a version who doesn't. Your silence didn't punish her. It matured you. And maturity, brother, is the one thing her ego can't overpower. Because the man who stops reacting becomes the man she can no longer manipulate, test, or predict. And that's when she finally feels what you once felt, the weight of being unseen, the ache of uncertainty, the sting of powerlessness. Your silence didn't create her storm. It revealed it. There's a moment in every silent separation when the story stops being about you and starts being about her. Not the version she shows the world, the laughing photos, the new outfits, the flawless Instagram stories, but the version she meets when the lights drop and the noise fades. This is where the truth begins. Not in the parties, not in the distractions, not in the curated performances of "I'm fine." The real truth lives in the quiet, and the quiet is exactly what she tried so hard to outrun. In the beginning, her silence feels like certainty. She tells herself she finally has freedom, no expectations, no emotional weight, no accountability to what you once were. It feels like breathing space, like she has her life back. But what she doesn't understand is that freedom built on avoidance always turns into emptiness, and emptiness always grows. At first, she fills that space with motion, new routines, new friends, new environments, anything that keeps her moving just fast enough so she doesn't have to look inward. She confuses momentum for healing. She mistakes distraction for strength. She believes that if she keeps running, the voice inside her chest will eventually get tired and fall behind. But that's not how the human heart works. Because every night, when she puts her phone down and the world stops asking for her attention, the silence she created becomes the silence she fears. It's slow, quiet, and unrelenting. It whispers, not shouts. It reminds her of the way things felt, not in the end, but in the beginning. The warmth, the connection, the inside jokes, the way your presence steadied her even when she didn't admit she needed it. The void doesn't attack her. It exposes her. And every avoidance tactic, she built every late-night scroll, every new distraction, every forced laugh starts to crack under the weight of what she refused to face. She told herself she was detached, but detachment built on denial always collapses. She begins checking your profile at 2:13 a.m., convincing herself it's only curiosity. She hovers over your name in her messages, telling herself she's just thinking. She sees your calm, your stillness, your discipline, and suddenly her freedom feels like a facade. Because here's the truth, she cannot escape. She didn't run away from you. She ran away from the version of herself she became around you, and now that version is chasing her. While she's busy patching the holes with distractions, you've become the one thing she can't dismiss: the man who didn't break, the man who didn't chase, the man who didn't fold under silence. And your stability, your grounded, unbothered presence does something to her pride. It confronts it. It corners it. It forces it to admit what she tried to bury under the illusion of moving on, that your peace was never the problem. Her chaos was. The void grows not because you're gone, but because she removed the only person who ever centered her. The more she runs, the more the emptiness mirrors back the truth. She tried to suffocate. She didn't lose a man. She lost the equilibrium his presence created in her life. That's why your calm bothers her. That's why your discipline unnerves her. That's why your silence echoes louder than any words ever could. Because now, when she compares her noise to your stillness, her distractions to your direction, her emotional turbulence to your clarity, she feels the imbalance. Your peace becomes a reminder of everything she hasn't faced within herself. She thought silence would make her stronger. Instead, it made her see herself. And that is the moment the void becomes undeniable, when she realizes that all the noise she surrounded herself with was never loud enough to drown out the truth. You were not the source of her chaos. Her avoidance was. The void she tried to escape becomes the voice she can no longer silence. It grows. It expands. And eventually, it forces her to confront the one question she hoped she'd never have to ask. Did I lose him, or did I lose myself when he left? And that, brother, is when the story begins to turn. There comes a point in every silence where the story stops being about you and starts being about her. Because when months pass and she still hears nothing from you, the absence she once thought she could outrun becomes the mirror she never expected to face. She looks into that mirror, not for your reflection, but for her own. And what she sees there, unfiltered, unedited, unprotected, hits harder than any conversation you two ever had. At first, the mirror feels harmless. Just a memory here, a trivial thought there. But as time stretches, your absence turns that mirror into a spotlight. Every choice she made echoes back at her. Every moment she dismissed you, every time she underestimated you, every instance she believed you would always be there, it all returns with a clarity she can't negotiate with anymore. Because silence does what arguments never can. It plays the truth back in her own voice. The first playback is emotional. She remembers the patience you carried, the softness you offered, the security she never had to earn. She watches those scenes with new eyes. realizing how many small moments she treated lightly because she assumed they would last forever. The things she once called bare minimum now look like luxury. The things she once took for granted now feel irreplaceable. Then the mirror digs deeper. It reveals the contradictions she hid, even from herself. She told the world she was fine, but the mirror shows she wasn't. She told her friends she was done, but the mirror asks why she still checks your page. She told herself she moved on, but the mirror shows how often she lingers on your name. This is where ego begins to fracture. Not because she wants control, but because she realizes she never really had it. She begins questioning her own narrative. If he cared, he would have broken the silence. But then the mirror answers. Or maybe he finally learned to care for himself. If he really loved me, he wouldn't be this calm. But the mirror replies, or maybe he loved you so deeply that it hurt, and now he's healing. If he misses me, why isn't he reaching out? The mirror comes back with, why do you need him to reach out for you to feel whole? These revelations sting because for the first time, your silence stops being about distance and starts becoming the measurement of her growth or her lack of it. The internal conflict hits hardest at night, when distractions fade, when pride loses its grip, when she's too tired to keep pretending. That's when her thoughts stop performing and start confessing. She realizes she never wanted freedom. She wanted reassurance. She never wanted space. She wanted control. She never wanted distance. She wanted you to stay, no matter how she behaved. And now the reality she fears most becomes undeniable. You didn't disappear to punish her. You disappeared because you finally outgrew the places where your love was undervalued. That's the moment everything shifts. Your absence becomes her mirror. Her mirror becomes her lesson. And her lesson becomes her regret. Not because she lost you, but because she sees how much you've gained in the silence. Your calm, your focus, your strength, your discipline. She sees a man who no longer breaks, no longer begs, no longer bends. A man who doesn't chase closure because he becomes it. And for the first time, she understands the truth she avoided from the beginning. She didn't walk away from a man who was weak without her. She walked away from the man she could have grown with and returned to find he grew without her. And brother, that realization hits harder than heartbreak itself. There comes a moment, brother, when the silence that once felt heavy on your chest becomes the very thing that elevates you. While she spent months trying to convince herself she was fine, you took that same time and turned it into fuel. And this shift, this quiet transformation, is the first thing she notices. At first, she tells herself your calm is fake, that your progress is just a phase, that your silence is a performance. But the more time passes, the harder it becomes for her to believe the stories she used to soothe herself with. Because your growth doesn't look like pretending. It looks like peace. Your posture is different now, grounded, steady, unbothered. Your energy is cleaner, no chaos, no desperation, no emocional noisy. Your decisions come from clarity, not confusion. And most importantly, your life no longer circles around her absence. It expands without it. This is the first time she realizes something she never admitted. Out loud, you were the calm she leaned on, not the other way around. And losing that calm, losing you, wasn't a liberation. It was a void she didn't know how to name. Now she watches quietly from a distance. She sees the discipline in your habits. She notices the lightness in your expression. She feels the confidence in your silence. And a truth begins to dawn on her. A truth she tried months to avoid. You didn't break without her. You became better. That realization hits harder than heartbreak ever could. For the first time, she wonders if she misjudged you, if she underestimated your strength, if she walked away from a man who was only at the beginning of becoming who he is now. Her regret doesn't announce itself loudly. It appears in small, vulnerable cracks, a quiet, late-night stalk of your profile, a lingering tap on your name in her messages, a moment of jealousy when she sees your confidence returning, a sudden softness in the way she looks at you, even if you'll never see it. She thought she left a version of you behind. She didn't expect you to evolve into someone she can no longer reach. But here's the stoic truth. Brother, your growth was never meant to impress her. It was meant to free you. Because when a man rises from silence with clarity, purpose, and discipline, his energy shifts. And that shift doesn't ask for validation. It naturally creates regret in those who took his peace for granted. You didn't become this man to prove her wrong. You became him to become right within yourself. And the regret she feels now, that's not your responsibility. It's her realization slowly blooming, painfully honest that she didn't lose the man she once had. She lost the man you've become without her. When a woman finally breaks months of silence, it never happens the way men imagine. It never comes with clarity, honesty, or a clean explanation. It comes quietly, indirectly, carefully, like someone touching a wound to see if it still hurts. Her return is not confidence, it's hesitation wrapped in curiosity. At first, she appears in the smallest ways. A like on a post she hasn't interacted with in months. A view on your story at 2:17 a.m. A heart reaction to something she swore she stopped caring about. A short DM that pretends to be casual, "Hey, how've you been?" But behind that simplicity is a storm she can't hide anymore. Because before she typed that message, she sat there staring at your name for minutes, sometimes hours, trying to decide whether she should hit send. She rewrote the text 5 times. She deleted it twice. She wondered if she even had the right to reach out after the silence she created. What she's truly asking isn't, "How are you?" What she's really asking is, "Are you still the man who cared about me? Or have you become someone I can't reach anymore?" Every small signal she sends carries the same fear that your calm is no longer an act, that your silence was not a phase, that you might have healed in ways she never expected. And the irony, the moment she tries to reopen the door is often the moment she realizes she is no longer sure she belongs behind it. This is where the Stoic man separates himself from the version he used to be. The old you would have responded immediately. You would have over-explained, overshared, overgiven, trying to resume a story she walked away from. But the man you've become, the man silence-shaped, moves differently now. You don't ignore her. You also don't chase. You stay centered. Your tone is calm. Your words are measured. Your energy is grounded. You respond like a man who has a life, not a void, waiting to be filled. You don't ask where she's been. You don't seek explanations. You don't reopen old wounds. because you understand something she's only beginning to learn. People don't come back for closure. They come back because your peace exposes their chaos. And as she talks to you again, she'll feel that difference instantly. Your clarity versus her confusion, your growth versus her stagnation, your acceptance versus her avoidance. She will sense it in every sentence, the gravity you developed in her absence, the emotional discipline she never expected you to master. And that realization will hit harder than the silence ever did. She didn't just lose you. She lost access to the version of you she took for granted. So when she finally breaks the silence, don't see it as a victory. See it as confirmation that the man you became is someone she can no longer shake. Your stillness taught the lesson. Her return proves she learned it too late. When all the noise fades and the story reaches its final breath, there's one truth that rises above everything else. Her silence was never the ending. It was the opening you needed. The distance she created didn't break you. It revealed you. It showed you what remains when everything that once distracted you finally falls away: your discipline, your focus, your peace. Brother, you didn't chase. You didn't collapse. You didn't hand back the power she tested you with. You walked through the silence and came out someone she no longer recognizes, but someone you finally do. Her absence became the classroom. Your stillness became the graduation. And the man you are right now, he wasn't born from her attention. He was forged from her absence. This is the moment every man eventually reaches, the moment he stops asking, "Why did she leave?" and starts asking, "Who am I becoming while she's gone?" And once you reach this point, you stop wanting her back. You start wanting your future. So, if this message hit your chest, if it reminded you of your worth, your clarity, your quiet mastery, then anchor it right now. Drop this in the comments to lock the mindset. Calm conquers chaos. Hit like if this elevated you. Hit subscribe if you're done living emotionally on your knees and ready to rise on your own 2 feet. And watch the next video I left for you, because now that you understand her silence, it's time to understand your power. Brother, you didn't survive the silence. You became the silence, and that silence is now your strength.